Please be seated. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 58th Annual Deborah Morton Convocation Ceremony. My name is Dan McCormick, and I am the chair of the University of New England's Board of Trustees. On behalf of the entire board, I would like to thank you for joining us as we celebrate and induct the 2019 Deborah Morton Society Awardees. These women will join the ranks of generations of important Maine women leaders. This year, we are pleased to honor 3 women who, in the spirit of Deborah Morton, have made lasting impacts on the state of Maine and beyond. Susan Corbett, ZamZam Mohamud, and Elizabeth McLellan. These 3 women have achieved high distinction in their careers, and they have dedicated their time to civic leadership, education, and advocacy. Their good works serve to inspire us all. It is now my pleasure to introduce Joshua Hamilton, the University of New England Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. Since joining UNE in April of last year, Provost Hamilton has proved to be instrumental in many important initiatives, and so please join me in welcoming Provost Hamilton.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for that introduction, Dan, and thank you for your service to our Board of Trustees. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to partake in this institution's time-honored tradition of honoring Maine women of exceptional character and accomplishment with the Deborah Morton Award. This event is truly one of the highlights of each calendar year at the University of New England. Gathering like this to celebrate our new Deborah Morton Society members allows us to reflect on the remarkable contributions of our state's women leaders through the years. I'd like to say just a few words about Deborah Morton, the former Westbrook student and then faculty member after whom this award is named. At a time when the social expectations for women were very different than they are today, Deborah Morton was a scholar, a leader, reformer, mentor, teacher, and adventurer who traveled the world and brought back knowledge and experiences that she shared with others, including her appreciative students at Westbrook College. Deborah Morton entered Westbrook Seminary in the fall of 1876 and graduated as valedictorian of the class of 1879. She spent the next few years teaching in her hometown of Round Pond, Maine, before returning as a member of the faculty of the Westbrook College in 1884. She taught grammar, rhetoric, French, and algebra. In 1885, she became preceptress. For the next 2 decades, she spent her summers overseas, exploring and refining her foreign language skills. Then in 1917, she took a hiatus from the seminary to more fully engage in civic life, serving as president of the Women's Literary Union and as an active member of the YWCA War Council during World War I. Eventually, she returned to Westbrook to resume teaching French. After her long and storied career, the Deborah Morton Award was established in 1961 to recognize Maine women who have distinguished themselves through their careers, public service, and leadership in civic, cultural, or social causes. The University of New England is proud to have inspirational leaders like Deborah Morton in its institutional creation story. Indeed, Deborah Morton's bold spirit is wired into our institutional DNA, and we are proud to continue the tradition of celebrating Maine's women leaders each year in her honor. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium Barbara Trafton, a member of the Deborah Morton Society, who is also a member of the Society's steering committee.
Thank you, Provost Hamilton, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to friends and family members of today's awardees, former Deborah Morton Society Award recipients, students, faculty, professional staff, members of the University of New England Board of Trustees, President Herbert, and graduates of Westbrook Junior College and Westbrook College. Indeed, Deborah Morton was an inspiration to her classmates, students, colleagues, and the women of Westbrook, Maine, and points far beyond. She was a teacher, a dean, a linguist, an historian, and prominent civic leader here in Portland. It's my privilege to serve on a society whose namesake paved the way for women leaders to develop their quest for education and to actively develop their curiosity. And I'm also proud of the fact that we continue to help young women of today fulfill their educational and professional dreams through the Deborah Morton Endowed Scholarship. Since its establishment in 1974, this fund has provided more than 80 Maine women with critical financial aid so they can pursue their dreams in the Westbrook College of Health Professions at UNE. To be eligible, women must have proven financial need and have demonstrated outstanding character, leadership, and academic ability. These are the qualities, of course, that defined the scholarship's namesake, Ms. Morton. Today we celebrate Deborah Morton, we celebrate past award recipients, and we celebrate our 3 new 2019 inductees. Congratulations to you all. It's now my pleasure to turn over the podium to the President of the University of New England, James D. Herbert.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much, and thanks to Josh and Dan for your kind words of introduction, and good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all. Nice to see so many friends in the audience and familiar faces. I'd like to begin by thanking the Deborah Morton Society Steering Committee for their work. These individuals have spent countless hours reviewing the accomplishments and ultimately nominating awardees who fulfill the exacting standards set by the Society's guidelines. I'd like to acknowledge them all: Ellie Baker, Meg Baxter, Susan Carlisle, Kay Flanagan, Michelle Hood, Theo Calico, Gilda Nardone, Pat Peard, Barbara Trafton, and Patsy Wiggins. So thank you all very much for serving on the community. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. So over the past 58 years, the Deborah Morton Awards have been presented to more than 200 women. Many of our past recipients are present here today to help us to celebrate this year's inductees. At this time, I'd like to invite all members of the Deborah Morton Society to please rise as you're able or hold up your hand to be recognized. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to help us celebrate this momentous occasion. I'd also like to take a moment to remember a special person who's no longer with us. So sadly, Deborah Morton Society member Rosalind Bernstein has passed away since our last convocation. Please join me in observing a moment of silence to reflect on Rosalind's life and to acknowledge her absence. Thank you. So it's been almost exactly 2 years since I joined the University of New England, and it's been an amazing 2 years, let me tell you. I'm having a great time. I've just met so many people and have grown to learn to love this institution even more passionately and deeply. In that time, I've identified so many aspects of UNE that fill me with pride, but none more so than our commitment to expanding access to higher education for students who are traditionally underserved, come from underserved groups. Our message to students is that we are inclusive, and if they are hungry to learn, there is a place for them on our campus. Each fall, we welcome many first-generation college students. As well, we welcome many young women and men who reflect our increasingly diverse society. In fact, this calendar year, this academic year, we entered our most diverse class at UNE ever, and this coming fall, it looks as though our class is going to even top that and be even more diverse. This commitment to inclusivity and access has deep historical roots. In Portland, these roots date back to 1831, when Westbrook Seminary opened its doors and began admitting women to the very grounds where we gather this morning. Later, Westbrook College took up the mantle of educating and empowering women on what is today the UNE Portland campus. During times when American society tried to define women and limit what they could do and who they could be and what they could say, the women who filled the halls of this campus would have none of it. They studied hard and they flourished, just as the young women on our campuses today do. I hope the Westbrook College and Westbrook Junior College alumni in attendance feel some of the connection to today's UNE students. If you're a Westbrook alumna, please stand or raise your hand as you're able so we can recognize you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. As women who have led successful careers in various fields, you've paved the way for so many of the successes that our current students enjoy, and we're lucky to have you as part of the UNE family. We're fortunate here in Maine to have such a proud tradition of women leaders through the generations. The Deborah Morton Society is one important way that UNE honors them. Another is through the curation of the Maine Women Writers Collection, which this year celebrates the 60th anniversary of its founding. The collection preserves the writings of Maine women. It includes material from acclaimed authors, as well as women who wrote only in diaries, letters, and other unpublished materials. Shedding light on such topics as the suffrage movement, women's education, women's health and sexuality, family culture, and Maine and New England history, it is located here on our campus right here in the library. If you haven't had an opportunity to visit it, I strongly encourage you to do so. It really is a fascinating collection. I hope you'll take some time to explore the many other treasures on our campus. While the historic look and feel of the Westbrook landscape remains, today's UNE Portland campus also provides students with access to the latest technology and equipment in their fields. Indeed, this is an important link that connects the Westbrook Seminary and Westbrook College to the modern UNE and the modern world. The university's many women leaders on the faculty, professional staff, and administration form another link to our identity, and the Deborah Morton Society forms yet another. At this time, I'd like to turn our attention to the three remarkable women who we are gathered to honor here today. I've asked members of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England to assist in sharing their names. Our first trustee to do so will be Diane Collins-Field. There she is.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Trustees for the University of New England, it is my pleasure to present the 2019 Deborah Morton Society Award recipient, Susan M. Corbett.
Susan Corbett is a preeminent authority on rural broadband deployment. Throughout her career, she's worked closely with economic development organizations to advance the adoption of internet and wireless technologies to provide critical access to rural Maine residents. Corbett is the former CEO of Axiom Technologies, a provider of an advocate of fast, affordable, and reliable broadband services for rural communities. Corbett first joined Axiom Technologies in 2005 as Chief Financial Officer. Under her leadership, the telecommunications company has designed and constructed more than 100 access points connecting over 2,500 square miles throughout rural Maine. Currently, Corbett serves as a consultant to the Axiom Education and Training Center, a nonprofit corporation dedicated to furthering the education and professional development of residents and businesses throughout Maine, and particularly Washington County. In the fall of 2017, Corbett launched the National Digital Equity Center as part of the AETC, and as director, collaborates with local and global change makers, relentlessly driving disruptive strategies to close the digital divide in Maine and across the United States. Corbett is a public speaker, educator, and advocate who is dedicated to providing broadband access and digital literacy to rural communities everywhere. Thank you.
Good morning. President Herbert, Provost Hamilton, Board of Trustees, the Deborah Morton Society Steering Committee, past awardees of the Deborah Morton Society, today's fellow awardees, students, and guests. It is an honor and a privilege to be invited to receive this prestigious award, participate in the celebration, and I am just delighted to be here. This spring, I started a new book, Be Fearless by Jean Case. As I read chapter after chapter, I kept going back to the beginning of the book, the epigraph. Let me share it with you. If you added up all the times you failed, all the times you came up short, would you try again? What if failure wasn't a limitation? What if taking risk was your status quo? What kind of world would you imagine? When the challenges we face seem overwhelming, we need to experiment with new thinking and try new things, create unlikely partnerships, and set audacious goals. To build a better world, to make a real difference, we have to take bigger risk and make bigger bets. And if we fail and fail again, we have to get right back up and dream even bigger. To live in a world worth living in, we have to let challenge inspire us. We have to take risk, be bold, and fail forward. We have to be fearless. In 2005, I joined Axiom, a company with a goal of bringing broadband connectivity to every home and business in Washington County and across the state of Maine. That work continues today by others, thanks Mark, with the same commitment and dedication. During those early years, failure happened often. It had to, as we tried new technologies and explored new ideas. As failures were happening, so were the wins, and the wins were sweet, exhilarating, and they inspired us to do more, to step outside our comfort zones, to be visionary, to be bold. When we open ourselves up to taking risk, we learn about others as well as ourselves, and sometimes we take a step into the unknown. Along came 2014, and we created a nonprofit, the Axiom Education and Training Center, to house all of our education work, adult education in Washington County, digital literacy classes across the state, an after-school STEM program for students, family futures down east, and so much more. We have the honor and privilege of working with community partners and collaborators, all with great minds, energy, and the passion to make Maine the best it can be. Education is our foundation, even going back to those early years as we were learning, experimenting, and pushing the boundaries of new technologies. And what about dreaming? I have dreams, you have dreams. I dream that not only do all homes and businesses have robust broadband, but that we all learn how to utilize technology and push its limits. And I imagine a world that we are all connected to each other and the world around us. Last year, under our nonprofit, we rolled out the National Digital Equity Center with a goal of closing the digital divide in Maine and across the United States. If you're gonna dream, you may as well dream big. I stepped down as the CEO of Axiom to take on the role of director of the National Digital Equity Center and rolled out a program, the Maine Digital Inclusion Initiative. Let's take care of Maine first. Today, that program has 16 AmeriCorps volunteers and will increase to 26 in the fall, teaching digital literacy classes across the state, helping to close the digital divide. Our partners on the project, the University of Maine and their 7 campuses, the Maine State Library and 227 local libraries across the state, adult education programs, older adult experts in Maine, and economic development organizations. At times, the statewide goal seems overwhelming and challenging, but with creative partnerships, I'm betting we'll succeed. Failure, risk, dreams, goals, fail again, get back up and start again. In Jean Case's final words in her epigraph, to live in a world worth living in, We have to let challenge inspire us. We have to take risks, be bold, and fail forward. I encourage you all to be fearless. Thank you very much.
So, I'll share this with you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. She's very, very inspiring. And I've visited Washington County. My wife Lynn and I were just up there late last year, and I can see where the need still exists, and I really admire your work, so thank you. I now call upon UNE trustee Diane Collinsfield again to present her next Deborah Morton awardee candidate.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it is my pleasure to present the 2019 Deborah Morton Award recipient, ZamZam Mohamud.
You get to listen to me talk about this. ZamZam Mohamud is known throughout the Lewiston, Auburn area as a bridge builder. While her primary job is as a certified nursing assistant, Mohamud's true calling is her passion for making her community of 18 years a welcoming and accessible place for everyone to call home. By building authentic personal relationships with longtime residents, new refugees, and asylum seekers, along with partnerships with area organizations and governmental municipal services, Mohamud helps find a common goal toward which all entities can work together. Volunteering on boards and committees and taking on new projects that serve the Twin Cities keeps Mohamud energized. She's tireless in her efforts to solve problems by helping to navigate process and paperwork, tradition and culture, and assumptions on all sides. She has served on the Lewiston Public Library Board, Adruscoken Head Start, School-Based Health Center Advisory Board, Lewiston Auburn Forest Board, Lewiston Auburn Growth Council, Marketing Committee, Downtown Neighborhood Task Force, Lewiston Police Civil Rights Team, and how many hours do we have? I could just keep going. Mohamud was the first Somali representative to serve Lewiston in an official capacity as a member of the Lewiston School Committee in 2013, and in 2014 she was awarded the Maine Women Lobby's Community Power Award. So thank you so much, ZamZam.
I do not know where you got that.
Thank you.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me. Often I hear people say to refugees, why don't you go back home? The people who ask this question don't realize that we have no homes to go back to. All that we have had have been taken or destroyed. When I arrived in Lewiston 18 years ago, 21 days after the Twin City Tower fell, I arrived by a taxi with 2 kids and $40 in my pocket. I knew nothing about Lewiston or about Maine, but I did know that Lewiston and Maine were to be my new home for my family, and I'm going to embrace the people with my heart. I'm a little bit nervous. Public speaking is not my thing. 2 days after my arrival in Lewiston, my 8-year-old son, Jama, stepped on broken VCR outside. He really got hurt badly on his foot. I took him to the emergency room at Central Maine Medical Center. The nurse who took, somebody's in this room who was a nurse at Central Maine at that time, helped me and asked me if I could translate for another Somali patient. I doubt I could do, but they asked me again, So I said yes, and I continue to volunteer for them long after that. After I arrived in Lewiston, I continued to work hard on my English and kept getting more and more involved in the community. When a classmate in the Adult Ed Center invited me to a church for supper, I went and soon started volunteering at their soup kitchen. When the deputy police chief had a meeting for incoming Somali immigrants to explain things like Constitution, I attended. After days, I followed him with a phone call and email, introducing myself and asked him my favorite question: how can I be of help? Question: what can I do to help? Which I ask everybody I meet in Lewiston and connect with me. I connect with people in my new community. Members of the school board, the police, the fire department, the city council. I step forward to volunteer to help others understand the culture of Somalis and to build bridges. I've responded to requests from the hospital and hospice for helping understanding Muslim burials, to the police for helping between the Somalis and refugees family, teens when they get in trouble. I have driven people to polls on election days and urge the African American, new Americans in town to vote. I have worked with the sheriff and the local county jail to prepare meals for inmates fasting for Ramadan. And as the student selected commencement speaker, I have asked graduates at Lewiston High School to come back to work in the community and leave after college. I've connected to people of my community, one person at a time, friends to friends, meet each person where they are without judgment. I always ask the question, what can I do to help? Try to build bridges with the community in the state I am proud to call home. I have had opportunity here in Maine that I've not had in most other places where corruption, gender, class, race will have put me in possible barriers to become involved. I am deeply grateful to be here in Maine in all it has offered me and my family, and I am so grateful to you for recognizing me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, too. Yeah, take it.
I thought it's one only.
That's right. Jeff never takes one picture because it takes him that many clicks to get one good one of me. That's why ZamZam. So thank you so much. I now call on Story Landis to present her Deborah Morton Award candidate.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it's my great pleasure to present 2019 Deborah Morton Society Award recipient, Elizabeth McLellan.
Thank you. Thank you, Story. Elizabeth McLellan is president and founder of Partners for World Health, an organization dedicated to improving healthcare around the world by implementing changes to the medical supply chain. Dedicated volunteers build collaborative partnerships within healthcare industries, both in the United States and abroad, to develop a system for recycling and redistributing discarded medical supplies to places in need. As the only organization of its kind in New England, Partners for World Health has created a cost savings for healthcare facilities by lowering disposal fees and limiting unnecessary waste. As of 2018, Partners for World Health has prevented a major impact on our environment and redirected over 1 million pounds of discarded medical supplies from landfills to countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America. In addition, McLellan organizes 6 global health medical missions per year to provide education and training to healthcare workers with a focus on improving the standard of practice. The Partners for World Health accomplishes its mission with a workforce of over 800 volunteers. As an active member of the Portland community, McLellan has held board memberships and leadership positions for organizations such as the World Affairs Council, Portland Ovations, Maine Historical Society, and Learning Works. McLellan fulfills her belief that we all need to make a commitment to do something greater than our own interests, and that if we all did this, we would have a major impact on our country and our world. Please.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank the UNE Board of Trustees and the Deborah Morton Society for bestowing this prestigious award on me. I am most humbled to be included in the society among so many great women, some of whom have offered me mentorship over the years, and others for whom I call my friends. It is an honor to be here. As the past several years of my life have unfolded, I think about how fate has played a role in determining my path. I recognize that I came from a privileged upbringing and had the best parents who taught me the difference between right and wrong and how to be kind, and educational opportunities that opened doors to my future and new roads to explore. All of this and more brought me to where I am today, but there was really no true plan in this process. I did not write it down. I did not follow the steps. I just continued to walk forward, stepping over obstacles and many bumps along the way, remaining positive and walking down the road and never looking back. This unstructured path that was circuitous at best has offered me opportunities and experiences I never could have imagined and has brought me where I am today. And so as I begin, I want to tell you a story. On one of my many travels to Bangladesh, I was on a busy street meandering through back roads headed to a hospital while horns were honking loudly, demanding their share of the road, all caught up in a traffic jam. It was a hot morning, and the sights and smells of poverty were everywhere. And on one of those muddy black slums, about muddy black streets in the slums in Dhaka, I saw her. She was motionless. Her head was bent. Her hands were clasped, as though she was asleep on the side of the road. Many people were walking past her without acknowledgement on their own road for life. Those memories remain as I recall, now years gone by. Her hair was matted, her clothes were tattered, her skin was wrinkled and weather-beaten, with her life etched upon her face. She was disheveled, and she had been living on the street for a long time. Who knew when she had had her last meal or slept in a bed? The woman was nameless. She was faceless. She was voiceless. And that woman has become my inspiration. I have had the opportunity to work in the Middle East, which opened doors to other countries and struggles so many people in our world. And there are many instances, not just one, when I have found myself on the back road in Sri Lanka or Pakistan or Senegal, visiting patients, absorbing the pain and the hurt and the disbelief in their eyes that their lives could ever be so challenging. And I would step back to watch this unfold as I leaned back against the wall in awe, stunned by the helplessness of so many and the inaction of so many more in our world who did nothing to lessen the suffering.
And as I watched this unfold, I was a bit overwhelmed, wondering, where do I even start? What do I do? Do I change the bandage on a bleeding patient? Do I hold the crying child who was looking for her mother? Do I help the family lift the father from the floor to the bed? Or do I offer comfort to those who know that their spouse has died? And so as I look back on those moments in my life, so far away from the idyllic Camden, Maine, where I grew up, and realize that my life's course, the life that had no plan, has been inspired by the tragedies in our world that we never seem to be able to fix. And I am haunted sometimes by the world's indifference. I have traveled the world for the past 30 years to places like the gutters in Sri Lanka and hospitals in northern Pakistan, to Kolkata, where the lepers live on the side of the railroad track, to the dumps in Cambodia and even war-torn Libya, to the slums of Bangladesh and Ethiopia and fields in Burundi where women cut down trees for firewood and then they carry it on their backs for 5 miles on their way home, and hospitals where people are so sick, lacking medication and dressing supplies to change wounds not once a day, but once a week, to where you feel what it is like to have no hope. Travels where you see the destruction of life, sadness and malnutrition, filth and so much poverty, and illnesses that you see. It is not the hearts, it is not the deformities or the illnesses that you see, but it is the broken hearts and the broken spirits, the lost souls, the despair and the disbelief in people's eyes that life could ever be so bad. It is not easy to look into the eyes of no hope. But if we are to make a difference in our country and in our world, we need to do just that. Let them inspire us to get involved in making our world a better place to live. Let them teach us about gratitude and what it is like to make a commitment to something greater than our own self-interest. We can make a huge difference in our world and have a major impact if we let them into our minds and into our hearts, because somewhere on the back streets in the slums of Dhaka, Bangladesh, or any country for that matter, is a poor homeless woman sitting all alone on the sidewalk. And she does have a name, and she does have a face, and she does have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and wow, thank you, all three of you. What absolutely inspiring women. I'm just, it's very inspiring, so thank you all very much. Please accept my sincere congratulations, each of you, on your membership in the Deborah Morton Society. We're very proud to have you as part of this family. And thank you all for coming today to join us to celebrate the accomplishments of these remarkable women. I'd like to now turn the program back over to Barbara Trafton.
On behalf of the steering committee of the Deborah Morton Society and all the members of the Deborah Morton Society, I would like to again congratulate these three exceptional and inspirational women. We are so honored, ZamZam, Elizabeth, and Susan, to have you join our society. And I just want to say on behalf of all the members, thank you for what you've done for Maine, for Mainers, and the world. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today for this special morning. And I hope you'll stay for our delicious luncheon, which we'll take back which will take place in the back of the room after the party leaves the stage. Thank you so much.